Welcome to Vexxed Uncensored Flashback episodes. We're diving back into the archives to bring you some of our classic episodes, now fully remastered. Get ready to relive these moments with improved sound, a new vibe, and the same unfiltered takes you love. Let's jump back into time and get vexed.
This episode originally aired on July 1st, 2020.
Taboo conversations, witty interpretations. Moe Vader on the hunt, ain't got a grudge. Street news is the tea. Vexxed Uncensored, smoke the beat. Vexxed Uncensored, smoke the beat. Vexxed Uncensored, fuck the beat.
Hello and welcome back, listeners. You're tuned in to Vexxed Uncensored with me, Moe Vader, and
me, Saint. Welcome back. We've been missing for a little bit. All for good reason. We're back with a vengeance and we're going to have a lot of shit dropping. What you been up to, Mo?
I've been quietly coasting through life, going through one vexing situation to another. I understand that the social world hasn't stopped since I have been focused on my personal world.
No, it don't stop time, does it?
It doesn't stop at all. I've got to be honest with you. We've had a little catch up and I don't know whether it's quarantine has allowed people to enhance their stupidity or whether people were this stupid all along.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think given a reason or an excuse, people are going to lose their shit about something.
Hey!
To the podcasting world, it's been a minute and I've missed it actually. I got off a plane, 48 hours ago? I think it's 48 hours ago.
I reckon it was about 48 hours ago. However, it's been a bit of a blur. Some would say it was 36 hours, others would say it's only been 12 hours, but where do we begin?
Now for the hottest topics.
Go on social media and you'll see some madness. But people are rioting in the streets, mainly because of the Black Lives Matter movement. And obviously when there's riots, there's looters, people break into shops and stuff like that. And Apple has issued a warning to looters that all stolen products will be disabled and are being tracked, and that you should go and hand the stuff in to a certain location. They'll kind of be like, no questions asked. Is that something you would do? Would you actually, after teething something, go return it to the store?
Personally, I wouldn't. If I'm as honest can be, yeah, I wouldn't do it. If I recall correctly, during my days in college, there was a scheme of handing in anything that may be offensive or illegal.
Yeah.
You would be getting watched. Whatever you put in would be tracked. And you would then be arrested following you having supposedly safely, securely disposed of, I don't know, a bladed weapon,
we love those.
certain substances or whatnot.
Yeah.
So please do not listening to their nonsense. Go and throw it away. Use the parts. That's not what I mean. Just go and give it back to Apple or lose it on a bus somewhere.
I mean, look, they're saying you're going to be tracked. It could just be a threat, but it's Apple. So they most likely are tracking the phones or the iPads, whatever.
Between Apple and Google, they know how many times you wipe in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Lose that on the bus, please.
That's true. That is true. And I mean, if you go and hand it in to the store, they've got your face on camera. So which one is it? Are you going to hand yourself in or just take the risk?
I wouldn't take the risk. I really wouldn't take the risk.
Yeah, me neither. But yeah, obviously, coronavirus is still out there, so they say.
It's Corona time. Shit is getting real.
Right, so this is being recorded live in London. After travelling back to London, I have to quarantine for 14 fucking days. What's your experience of it being in quarantine?
Well, if I spoke about quarantine 3 months ago, I would have said I am loving it. I'm getting the hours that I want. I'm getting not only the hours that I want, the hours that I need. I am thriving. I'm free to roam around. There's no traffic. I was happy. Unfortunately, I've come across some extenuating circumstances that has led to me having to resign. I am now also, I guess, quarantining. Please No,
Full-time quarantine.
full-time quarantining right now. Thank the powers that be. I saved a little bit of change. Not a lot, just a little bit. So please don't come looking for me. Don't wait around in the alleyways or around the corner for me. I am not racked. I'm as broke as your brokest cousin, and we are all suffering together. So let's hold hands, sing Kumbaya. And speaking of singing Kumbaya, would I be right in saying that there is another war? There is a war on preference. You mentioned that B. Simone made some comments about the men that she likes to date.
Anyone who pays attention to that kind of stuff, B. Simone, she's like, I think she's got like a makeup line, you know, one of them girls that does them things. And she sells a lot of stuff. So a lot of girls follow her. And she was doing an interview and she said, listen, I'm an entrepreneur. My work schedule is 24/7. If I'm going to date someone, it's got to be someone who can understand my routine and can do the same thing that I'm doing. I don't want to date someone who's doing a 9 to 5. Now, a lot of people was not happy with that. They said, who the fuck are you to be talking about we're not good enough and you're on your high horse because you made a bit of money? And other people were like, well, that's her preference. Like, she does what she wants to do.
I think I'm going to have to play the fence on this one. Yes, I do understand that someone that works a 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, expects to have you with them locked up in the house from, I guess, 5 p.m. Friday until 9 a.m. Monday.
Yeah.
So in the time where the 9 to 5ers are free to spend money, where an entrepreneur will recoup for the times where a 9 to 5er is at work, you then have a lapse between where a go-getter is getting their money and where the workers are getting their money. So it makes sense for an entrepreneur to be with an entrepreneur. Now, did B. Simone mean entrepreneur as in Escobar entrepreneur?
I don't think she specified. If you work for yourself, whether you're hawking drugs or batty hole, I don't think she minds. Like, as long as you're making your own money, you're flexible in your hours. Like, for me, I kind of got what she meant. And yeah, I wasn't bothered by it. Plus, maybe it's the way she said it, not what she said. But I do think people are sensitive right now. Entrepreneurs are making money and thriving. Some, well, most. We've seen evidence of entrepreneurs thriving in quarantine because their businesses are still operating online. And then you've got workers who are losing their jobs because companies are having to buckle down and downsize and let people go. So I don't know, is it kind of like shitting on the poor man?
I wouldn't say that it's shitting on the poor man. To be frank with you, I learned a valuable financial lesson at a young age, which was that you need to financially be an octopus or octopi.
An octopi.
And have a hand in every pot. So, yes, you can be employed, pay your taxes through that employment, pay your taxes through all employment and all streams of revenue.
Yeah.
And you do still need to have, at the bare minimum, 2 lines of income. As a modern day independent adult, you need to have more than 2 streams of income. Nothing wrong with being a entrepreneur. However, B. Simone has shown that unfortunately the virtual stardom has gotten to her head. Anyone that is in the public light or that is bordering or is a celebrity of celebrity status has to remember that there are a lot of pamper wearing people out there that get offended over everything and anything you say.
It's true.
So you have to be lukewarm. You cannot get overexcited and express the thrill and the delirium that comes with success. There isn't any more I can actually say on that, to be honest.
No, I mean, come on, like, B. Simone, who's B. Simone? I'm sure she's someone of relevance, but who's she to me for me to think that her opinion on where she puts the pum-pum matters to me? Like, it doesn't. Whether she's with a 9 to 5 man or not, like, I don't think it matters. But I feel like people look to celebrities just to know it all and to be so even politically correct, not share their personal opinions because it could be offensive. And there's no need for people to be looking up to these random ass famous people who they don't know personally, and expecting them to like be the smartest motherfucker out there. I think there's no point in that. Do you know what I mean? B Simone, she's like a funny girl or whatever. And yeah, well, kudos to her. But yeah, I'm not sure. I think it's irrelevant kind of thing. I think people just like overreacted.
Honestly, I'm a funny guy, but 95.8% of people I know hate me. So, B Simone, you know, there isn't much of a fighting chance. There are those that love to hate and those that hate to love. So, you're in a bit of a pickle. And anyone that knows me personally would know that whenever I use the term pickle, shit is getting real. Beyond that, I'm probably going to go and shoot my career down the drain by bringing up the topic of Black Lives Matter. Please, sir, what is your opinion? What is your truest opinion of the Black Lives Matter movement?
So, when it comes to the Black Lives Matter movement, it's originated from kind of posing a question to people. Like, everyone wants to walk around and say all lives matter, but the point is, hundreds of years past, Black lives have not mattered, and obviously systematic racism is prevalent more than ever. And so it's now an organization. So there's now an organization that heads up Black Lives Matter, and they're funded by donations. They also have private funders. And you see, obviously, with the riots, the protests against racism globally, sparked by George Floyd's assassination on camera in front of the public where the incident happened in America. And I think it's bigger than that even. It's more about everyone being, I think, for me anyway, it's about everyone feeling tired. And we've all lived with it, do you know what I mean? Like, if you're not white, then you've lived with some sort of oppression or racism or whatever. And yeah, I think people are now feel like they can speak about it. Do you know what I'm saying? As far as the looting and all that, listen, whenever there's systematic change, there's going to be some violence. There's going to be some people are angry. Do you know what I mean? People are angry.
I'm quite perplexed by the Black Lives Matter movement. I wouldn't say that it came out of nowhere. However, it is another movement, another organization coming out of the United States of America. I'd like to know, what is the involvement between Black Lives Matter and the NAACP? Now, I know I mispronounce my N's and M's, but I hope everyone actually gets the gist of what I'm actually saying. The NAACP would have been, or I would like to think should have been, the spearhead that directs the rights and the living standards of the descendants of Africans in the United States. Now, the current global movement of Black Lives Matter, I don't particularly see a bond and a connection between the organizations that fight for the same cause. I've got to be honest, in my hearts of hearts, I don't believe that the Black Lives Matter movement is going to continue steam and will have the same relevance in 24 months from this recording. I genuinely don't believe it. I believe that it's something that has come about by the most disgusting circumstances, has come from the assassination of a human being. And to be frank and honest, people that are out there rioting and looting, they wanted to do that anyway. They wanted to. What we all need to identify and we all need to accept is that, unfortunately, there is a stereotype and there is a prejudice based within the appearance and look of an individual. There's certain leeways given to an individual based on their look and their appearance and how they handle and carry themselves. However, we are all the end product of our circumstances and our environment when we speak socially. Socially speaking, racism is very real. For me, at the least, it is very real. I can admit that I have come across people that, for them, racism is a figment of their imagination. And I respect the fact that they were blessed, or should I say their circumstance and environment was ideal for them not to identify that as a factual occurrence in their lives. However, it is and was a factual occurrence in my life. Part of the process of my resignation, in reflecting on it, I realized that the outcome of another member of staff was different to mine
Oh, don't get me started.
based on the fact that, I guess, based on the fact that certain subjects and certain topics associated to the Black Lives Matter movement is prevalent. And in other words, I've used big words, but let me dumb it down. Let me not even dumb it down. Let me speak my truth. I am what the most ignorant of ignorant would call an African, you know? An African. I have African appearance, African tendencies, and African habits.
Right.
And my counterparts, you know, my colleague is
A Caucasian?
a Caucasian,
Caucasian.
of Scandinavian appearance,
Oh, Scandinavia.
you know, tall, you know, a lovely person, a genuinely lovely person.
I'm sure she is.
And without moving the goalpost in terms of standards, one has a suspension, returns, the other has a conversation and is advised to resign.
What did?
And there it is, plain and simple. If anyone is willing to perhaps engage in more in-depth conversations, we can do that. However,
Oh no, Morley, we're race baiting, aren't we? If we have these conversations, we're race baiting. We're inciting civil wars. Apparently, we're imagining it.
Well, I've got to be honest with you. I've sat and had conversations with racists through and through.
Do you know what just occurred to me? You know when like someone young who's black dies or gets shot or murdered or whatever, whether it's by police or whoever, right? And there's like pain in the family, pain in the community. There's just pain in it. It happens all the time. And when you say these things are happening, a lot of Caucasian folk tend to go, well, that's not happening. I don't see that happening in my world. It's because none of their sons or daughters are being afflicted with the same brutality in life. They're not bothered. So it's just pure ignorance. And if you hear like us pouring drinks and lighting things, yes, we are in celebration mode. Despite the state of the world. But yeah, it's just ignorance. Like every day on Instagram, scrolling on the feed, there's all these videos of these, you know, Karens, they're calling them, these entitled Caucasian, usually older women, or could be in their 30s upwards, who are just blatantly nasty, racist, bullies, basically, in the streets and in supermarkets and everywhere. So it's to the point where none of us can ignore it. But I wonder, like, what the white people, you know, how they feel. If you guys are listening and you know, you want to share how you feel, be sure to send some of your opinions in. But yeah, how do you think we're going to go from here? Because everyone, I mean, we've all known about white supremacy. It's in every civilized, what they call civilized first world country. So it's like, come on now, are we going to treat, like, where's it going? What is it?
I've got to be honest. I actually like the oxymoron between the races and their cultures and how they all differ. There are certain fundamental principles that are instilled in Caucasian children that are neglected in... Jesus, I don't actually... I'm sorry to have said that last comment.
Why don't you say Jesus' name in vain now?
I apologize to anyone's religious beliefs and religious standpoints, but I don't know. Caucasian is, you know, the textbook term. What is the textbook term for
Europeans?
For someone like me. What's the textbook term?
Oh, well, would they call us negro? Black.
No.
They call us black.
No, it can't.
Yes.
It can't possibly
black,
still be that, no.
Be lack. Word,
So-
English spelling, English words. It's called spelling. Why? Because they're from druids, witchcraft and shit. The English language can talk around itself. Do you know what I mean? Be lack. It says lack in the word. Lack. It's not a coincidence, is it? So even people differentiating themselves in America, obviously anyone born in America now believes they're native to that country because they're born there, even though they're not of the native race that originates from there. And, you know, in America, you have Asian Americans, African Americans, Native Americans. Who are the Americans? Whites. White people are the Americans, right?
So would I be an idiot to ask the question, why is there not European Americans?
because Europeans colonized the Americas.
So I guess
Sorry, the British. Let's just put it that. Let's just talk real. The British did it. Okay.
so I guess that's a very hurtful statement you've just made, and I have nothing more that I can throw onto it. However, where do you think we should steer the conversation? I want to wind.
All right, before we get off this race baiting, as they would call it, let's just talk about these statues being pulled down in the UK here now. Obviously in America or any colonized country, they're just ripping down these monuments of slave traders and bigots and murderers and genocidal maniacs. That's our culture. That's our heroes that you fucking disrespect. Confederate flags, ahoy, to the skies. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that? Is there any point to this shit? Do you get it, or is it not? Is it not what we should be focusing on, basically?
Now, follow me down this ugly little street we're gonna go down. I have never watched a full episode of Game of Thrones. However,
what? I never knew that.
Hey, I was out there.
Yeah,
I wasn't indoors when Game of Thrones was showing. However, the parts of an episode that I have seen, I can remember someone having to walk through like a gangway with people on either sides, and there was someone else walking behind them saying "shame, shame."
Yeah, she's butt naked.
Yeah, she had to crawl through that. Now, I believe that the pulling down of the statues is at face value, people will think that it's a good thing. I, however, believe that if it's because everyone has had spare time, and unfortunately due to the disgusting circumstance of assassination, people are now ripping them down and saying the statue shouldn't be there. The statue should be there. People should know exactly.
It's a warning.
It's a warning. It is proof of what the environment and circumstances were in the past.
Yeah. People
should know a full and wholesome reflection of our historical figures, leaders, and the individuals that were idolized and are still currently idolized. I genuinely believe that those statues should not have been pulled down. They should be there. It should be that everyone should know so-and-so had this part to do in this tragedy or this travesty. They, however, also had this part to do in whatever good may have come from their actions. I believe that people are neutral. People make good and bad decisions, and 9 times out of 10, most people have no clue and no idea what the ramifications of their decisions or choices where it's going to take them. So let the statues be. Focus on the poison that is in society right now, the poison that is setting seeds right now. There are individuals right now today that their actions and their comments, their statements, what they stand for in even less than 10 years, in the coming years, the coming months, is going to have a detrimental effect on society as a whole.
It's true. But it's like, yeah, I think that too. I've always seen those statues and I knew who them fuckers were, but it's like, well, duh, I'm in England. What more do you expect? But I feel like I did, I was educated, not from school, but I was educated about the history of the British, and I wasn't dumb or naive to it. I think the issue is that's been brought up as well, is in education, they do not teach the atrocities of the British Empire. So a lot of white kids and white people grow up to be white adults, don't even know how bad how bad of a history their country, which their bloodline is most probably native to, is, and what they've done, and how the ethnic minorities have to live in these environments now, really maybe at this point, since everyone's saying, oh, we want to be equal, all the governments and the councils, oh, we've got all these campaigns to say we're going to be equal and, no racism and la la la, but it's built into the system. So it's a situation where pulling down the statues is like, a physical representation of we're tearing you down, but we know where the fish rots from, the head down. So it's not an us problem, it's a them problem. How are we going to fix them? We're not fucking, we're going to use Jedi mind control to suddenly pop the racist thoughts out of their minds. Like, what the fuck? What were we meant to do about it? Ask them and keep begging them through protests to stop treating us like dogs in the street. They're the same ones that abused us. What you think they're going to say? Okay, then. Okay, yeah. We're just going to, let all the black and brown people out of prison and lose billions a year since all of our prisons are privatized, and we make so much money off of, incarcerating black and brown people through discrimination. 80% of the populations are non-whites in America and the UK. That's not coincidence. Slavery never fucking ended, basically. I feel like everyone feels like they need to do something, and you can do something. You can speak up. That's what social media is for. That's what signing these petitions are for.
The mind and perception is a wicked, wicked mistress. If I'm honest with you, I would actually advise everyone to get their, let me hold my words properly, get off of social media. Pick up your telephone, dial a number in, have a conversation. For all of the masses that are out there, pick up your phone and call your local MP, call your local this and that and this, whoever is in government, whoever is your so-called civil servant that you pay taxes to in this part of the world anyway, call them and apply pressure on them. Social media is really just an outlet for you to get attention. It's so whosoever is sitting at home miserable because they didn't get on the floor and do their sit-ups and do their push-ups, and they didn't go for that run, they didn't clear out that shed or clear out that attic that they were supposed to do, that is where they go and get their attention from. Social media is a platform where people who have not developed the skills to socialize and to navigate the nonsense that they're going to come across throughout their whole adult life, that's where they go and vent. And like-minded people will find you, and guess what they'll do? They'll drop a like. They'll drop a supportive comment on whatever it is that you post. And then you will get those that challenge what it is that you do or what it is that you say. And guess what you'll do to them? You'll block them. You'll block them and ignore them. You'll have an argument with them. You won't steer the conversation, or you won't try and understand exactly what perspective it is they're coming from. Social media literally enhances the deficiencies in human interactions.
Do you think we should shame people into siding with us? Do you know what I mean? Do you think we should shame people into, well, how do you feel about this? Do you know what I mean?
Shame doesn't work. Just 2 days ago, I remember looking someone in the eyes, someone that I respect, I'm quite fond of, my little tenderoni.
Is this an awkward white moment?
No, not an awkward white moment.
Yeah, because it might be a new segment of ours. We're not sure yet.
I was amongst my own, to be honest, but I looked that individual in the eyes and I said, "Hey, shame does not live here. So if shame does not live with me,
it must live with you."
I don't think it lives with anyone. Given the right circumstances, no one actually genuinely has shame in them. People will and are willing to do anything to get what they want or get what they need. The one separating factor is that there are those, so to speak, whether you are misguided or you're misinformed, or you know everything there is to know and you support a movement, you're supporting that movement to gain what you need or what you want. And those that clash and conflict with that movement are putting up a resistance for the sake of what they need or what they want. This is we're literally observing a battle of the fittest.
It all boils down to one simple thing, and that is the fact that black people are systematically, disproportionately worse off with authority than anyone else other than Native Americans. As far as the rate of black people to Native Americans being killed, Native Americans are number 1, black people number 2, Latinos are number 3. It's not nice, it's not a competition, it's really sick and sad. But I think obviously now it's good to know that the world is kind of agreeing this is fucked up. Otherwise, we're in a world full of sociopaths. Do you know what I mean? To see so many people, all right, some people looting. I actually couldn't give a fuck, frankly, because people go, oh, well, you don't burn down your neighborhood. I don't own this neighborhood, because if I own this neighborhood, this shit wouldn't even be going down. No one else in this block owns the neighborhood. We don't own nothing. We get robbed every fucking day. Disproportionately treated worse. You're less likely to succeed because of the history of your family, the trauma that's gone through generations of generations. It just passes on. So it's just about acknowledgement. But But I think it gets political, and it shouldn't get political. We all agree racism is wrong. It always has been. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nothing new, is it? To be honest.
Do you know, honestly, I'm gonna stand up and play the fence, be the advocate to a very unpopular opinion. I would say that there is an unfortunate majority of Caucasians who they genuinely don't share the same views as the generations above them. They actually don't.
No.
However, imagine having to stand up against those that give you bread and water, those that give you shelter, that keep you warm, based on an opinion that you may or may not agree with. However, you're stuck in your circumstance and your environment. You either succumb to the opinions and you can't beat them, so you join them, or you're constantly being alienated. I have on many occasions observed an individual that may not reflect the appearance or background of a Black Lives Matter movement soldier or official.
Yeah.
They support their movement and they're shunned, and they revoke the opposite movements, perhaps white power or national front or whatever is the applicable organization to those ideologies, and they're shunned by them too, creating a third party of outcasts. To be frank and to be honest, there are fundamental issues within each and every group and individual party. There are those that haven't addressed issues in the foundation years. There are those that haven't addressed issues in the adult years. And ultimately, these clashes are based on issues that will not be resolved by a piece of paper being signed. These are issues of true integration, true cultural, traditional, psychological, emotional integration between all of the people on earth. Many conversations has highlighted to me that unfortunately I have a bias or a prejudice or a stereotype towards other groups that may or may not have the same view, opinion, stereotypes, prejudices, all the fancy words you want to add to it. They don't have that same view of me. However, I also know that there are those that do. Now, where do you genuinely begin to wear away at that and reach a point where each and every individual is an individual, but is also part of a greater, bigger organism, which is the living, conscious human being?
It's true. Because in situations like this, if you're black, you're a part of this, whether you want to be or not. Like, personal opinion seems to just go out the window. Obviously, it would be a shame for a black person to not understand the message, but you're grouped in. Everyone is automatically grouped into something bigger, a bigger purpose, depending on how you identify or what your genetics are. It's really like that. Those systems are obviously constructs, unless we want to pull out of our society, because everything we do is built on constructs, right? If we get changes, that would be great. But this has to go somewhere. Do we just pick the racism thing up every 10 years and do a protest for a few months and then drop it once we get a couple bills signed? It's not quite working out, is it?
It's not. It's not working out. And
mind you, I've lived abroad for 2 years now. In the last 2 years, yeah, like, it wasn't a white country, but they still have their issues.
I've got a bone to pick with London and England.
Who doesn't?
It seems like everything occurs in London. The main issues, the big problems occur in London, and London represents the whole of England. It's the most important thing in England, when there's so many other issues occurring all over England, all over the United Kingdom, and there is a pattern occurring here. Now, there are those that may be a little bit younger than myself, and there are those that may be a little bit older than myself. But when I bring up the topic of the Mark Duggan situation, and I know to some other groups, the Mark Duggan situation would be a reference to the London riots, as opposed to the murder and assassination of someone who, as far as evidence goes, was not a threat at the time of their disposal.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, for those that are older than me, if I make mention of the Brixton riots, again, the catalyst was was someone that is not an actual threat at the time of their disposal. Now, prior to the Brixton riots, I'm sure there are those, the Windrush. If Boris hasn't deported you yet, there may be the odd few Windrush left over to say, yeah, there was pockets of riots here and there.
Yeah.
Now, if we're going to have intervals of constant rioting and it gets quashed and there's 10 years of we're going to take the piss, we are literally going to humiliate and take the piss. And now I'm speaking from a perspective of having been on the receiving end of things.
Yep.
Long before the Mark Duggan situation and long after the Brixton riots, I got my inauguration into the Hall of Fames, invited into the back of a bully van, and they played hopscotch on me. And believe it or not,
as they do,
it was an Asian officer and 2 Caucasian officers. Now, I know that there is a touchy subject on how to specify Asian, because Asia is a very broad and wide and variant region of the world.
Yeah. Well, Asian subcategories have been dismissed as not being politically correct. You know, Asians is Indians, Chinese, Japanese, so forth.
I know exactly how to differentiate them.
Yeah.
And after my inauguration, as officers of the law played hopscotch all over my body, gave me a good kicking. Right,
they love that. They love doing that.
I was only 17 years old at the time. Now,
fighting baby.
Right, little pudding. I'm telling you, butter wouldn't melt. However, I was doing wrong. They caught me doing wrong. Now, they didn't have me banged to rights. They couldn't arrest me. It was just simply that I was somewhere that it didn't make sense for me to be. I was surrounded by people that it did not make sense for me to be surrounded by them. And if you know me, you know that I'm a heavy-set fellow.
Oop.
And I can sprint short to medium distances, but I am not for the long run.
The short bursts is all you need sometimes.
Now, all right, fine. To put it plainly, I got beaten up in the back of a bully van. Unfortunately, there are those out there that aren't alive to laugh and giggle about it and say, well, I learned a lesson or two. However, in all of your arguments over all lives mattering, just remember that unfortunately, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, tradition, culture, religion, and all of the many beautiful things that human beings seem to have built an affliction towards differentiating one from the other, and all the categories that come along with it, there will and has always been someone that is experiencing this roller coaster called life worse than you right now at this particular moment.
Well, there's only one race on the planet, and it's the human race. It's just that some people got it twisted. They don't believe in that. They believe they're the best. Just be grateful to be alive and semi-free, bitches. That's how they feel. And if you've got an opinion, and if you live here and you want to be treated equally, again, it's one of those situations where it's got to be an end game. I just don't know how long it's going for. It's still going on now. There's still protests now. So what's this now? 2 months? That's a good stretch. But anyway, we actually have to pay the bills.
I gotta pay some bills with this booty.
Someone's got to keep the lights on. So we're going to be right back.
Shout out to the Japanese listeners. Planet Vexxed Music and Saint have released the all-new extended play, Shining Moments, featuring several of the promotional singles released by Saint in 2024, including the new J-pop club mix, The Best Ones. To learn more and to secure both your digital or physical copy, you can head over to topmusic.jp/saint or bandsintown.com/saint. You can stream and download the EP now from all major Japanese digital retailers, limited select stores across the globe. Now, let's take it T Tokyo. 日本のリスナーの皆さんに感謝。プラネットベクストミュージックとセイントが新しい EP Shining Moments をリリースしました。2024年にセイントが発表したプロモーションシングルのいくつか、そして新しい J-POP クラブミックス The Best Ones も収録されています。 詳細を知り、デジタル版またはフィジカル版を手に入れるにはtopmusic.jp や Saint の公式サイトbandingtown.com サイトにアクセスしてください。 EP は日本国内の主要なデジタルストアや世界中の限定店舗でストリーミングおよびダウンロードが可能です。 Thanks for listening.
Welcome back to Vexxed Uncensored with me, Saint, and Moe Vader. How you doing, Moe Vader? Are you liking our welcome back celebration episode?
Oh, it's lovely.
Fucking lovely. So yeah, well usually in this segment, it's called our Vex segment.
It's the slanderous, the insatiable, the problematic, the honest, and downright uncensored Vexxed moments.
Yeah, it's been a chill time, so I don't have a lot to complain about. Yeah, I can talk about racism all day. Yeah, we can talk about coronavirus all day. I was just saying to my Vader, like, it's actually quite hard right now considering how stressful the world is right now to have some sort of peace, you know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, you didn't really have one, did you?
I didn't, but I was able to recall a certain frustration over the last 3 to 4 months that culminated in a joke. Get ready for my dry dad humour. So, Saint.
Yes.
What is the scariest noise of 2020?
The scariest noise of 2020 is someone hacking up their lungs, coughing in my direction. That's the scariest noise in 2020.
So the scariest noise is cough cough.
Yeah.
Now, a little bit of insight. I have a weakness and affinity to smoking, and that means that I have a smoker's cough. I know everyone that may or may not smoke is thinking to themselves, well, why do you choose to smoke? You know and are aware in this day and age, you're killing yourself, you're this, you're that. Toxins, carcinogen, all the thousands of chemicals or hundreds of chemicals that goes into it. Fine. Okay. My weaknesses are my own. I don't actually have to explain what my struggles and my battles are that have contributed towards me making the decisions that I've made. However, in the year of 2020, I had to navigate stopping a fight between a group of young people and a middle-aged portly fellow who was queuing to get into the Asda. Yes, portly. I chose portly. That's the word I chose, and I'll stick to it. And to be honest and be truthful, I did end up leaving the situation incredibly low, thinking this is a man of a certain stature. This is a man that possibly may or may not, but is most likely to be the father of however many other young people that are coming up in the world. And the fact that this man was willing to fight children because I cough from my smoker's cough, not from COVID, but the paranoia, the delirium that has been hysteria that has been injected into people, the paranoia, so much so that a grown portly man is willing to fight clear and obvious children under 18s. It broke my heart. It broke my heart. And the only way that I really could kind of get over the fact that a segment or a portion of society that you see out and about getting on with their days, their lives, their working lives, everything, every kind of life that you've got to think of or that is possible, that paranoia is taken away from their sanity and their ability to be a civilized human being. I had to come up with some kind of joke. I thought of 2 variations of it. I mean, you know, what's the scariest noise of 2020?
Yeah. Cough,
cough. Or achoo. Well, take your pick. But I find that I cope best with the tragedies of life with humour. I know there hasn't been anything that has vexed you yet, but is there anything that has irritated you? Perhaps not vexed, but irritated?
I think on social media, it's like I take breaks, so I just stay off it. But yeah, especially when you've got to be doing stuff like this, you've got to be on social media, you've got to be posting, you've got to be seeing what's going on. And I think like it can get depressing. You know what I mean? Everyone's got to relive this shit, and everyone's got to think, all right, so we do want change, but everyone gets political about it, and it's just, yeah, I think on social media it's like overkill. Can't watch any more people getting shot or like strangled, or you know what I mean? It really fucks with your day. So yeah, it's one of them things where listen, if you're black, you know exactly what's going on, you've been through it, so you don't need to be reminded of it through graphic images. That's part of the game. Do you know what I mean? To keep certain people in certain places. So don't fall for that shit, people. It does my fucking head in. And yeah, take a break sometimes and just think, you know, I might unfollow this account for 1 week. But yes, we're gonna wind this episode down to a close because we've got more bills to pay.
I really enjoyed this episode. We just got to pay bills. Like everyone else, we got to pay bills.
We've got plenty more things to come. If you want to listen to past episodes of Vexxed Uncensored, you can listen to us everywhere, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Music. We've got Vexxed merch that will be relaunching as of next week.
I put a ton of cranberry juice in there.
I know, cranberry. Do you know what? It's not my favourite mixer, but it does the job. It does the job. There is Fanta fruit twist in there in the studio. Anyway, thank you people for listening, and we'll be back with you soon.
Ciao, Bella.